I muted myself over here. All right, cool. Slight issue, slight hiccup out of the way. Yeah, so in this video, in this stream that I plan on turning into a video, I'm just gonna go over setting up Next.js and NextAuth. So you're just gonna set the whole thing up from scratch. So NextAuth itself, if you aren't familiar with it, it's just instead of needing to roll your own auth or use something like Supabase, NextAuth.js allows you to more or less just slap it in, plug and play into an existing project. So in this video, we're just going to go through create a new repo, create a new Next.js application, and then we're going to slap in NextAuth. I'm also going to add in, it does have a lot of optional providers in there. As you can see, like over on the left down here, there is a whole lot of providers that you can use. But just for simplicity's sake, we're going to go with Google. I haven't set up any of the Google stuff yet. And I was a little bit worried initially about showing like credentials and keys on stream, especially if this is then going to turn into a YouTube video at some point. But I'm just going to delete the account after. So we are probably just best off just literally following along with the documentation for the first part. So the example repo that they do suggest downloading is here. So this is just github.com NextAuth example /tree main. Before I actually pull that down and start working on it, I just want to double check that it is in TypeScript, because screw.js, yep, TypeScript, all good. So I'm just going to grab this with SSH. I hate that it defaults to using HTTPS, but we're just going to grab that straight through SSH. Where am I? In a good spot for it. So I'm going to clone that. And I should probably actually pull up chat, make sure the camera's still working. Cool, all good. Just give me a couple of moments because I forgot to do this before stream. So we want to run this one, I think. Yep, that looks good. So you guys can see what keys I'm hitting. And then what's the other thing? Chatterino. So I'm gonna probably not there. Let's just pop it up here. Chatterino. Cool. So now I can access, hopefully. Let's just see if it's working. Test. That's not how you spell test, whatever. Yep, that looks good. Cool. So now I can see chat. And I will pop this down into a floating window. At some point, I'll probably do a video going over my window manager configuration. Fuck. Over my window manager configuration, just because I know that a lot of people do have questions about like how to set them up and how they work and all that kind of stuff. I'm not too sure if you guys can see the chat on my screen down there. But it doesn't matter because it's not for you. So you're just going to jump back over here and just jump straight into the NextAuth example. So the suggestion that I have here is to run pmp install. And I'm not doing that. We're using yarn here. We use yarn around these parts. So I'm just going to run yarn straight up, which will... God damn. Hang on, let me just double check what it is. Yarn.lock. And then I'm going to run yarn. So running yarn by itself will default to yarn install. The catch is, as I've sort of made a bunch of changes to facilitate mono repos and that kind of stuff, if you have a higher level yarn.lock somewhere, so for example, I literally have one in my home directory, it's going to say, hey, this looks like it's part of that package. This entire repo that we just downloaded, it actually is just part of your home directory. So just running touch yarn.lock will then let it know that it should be installing it there. Anyway, so now that that's all done and it's installed, let's see what they want us to do next. I am going to run this command. So if I just list everything out, it comes with a example environment file. So just running this command, hopefully, will then just remove .example from the end of it. So let's jump into it. And the things that we aren't going to give a shit about is the Auth, Facebook, GitHub. So we can just delete all of those straight out. Same with Twitter. And actually, I'm not too sure about this. I'm not too sure what that is. So we'll go over it sort of when we get there. All right, so let's close all of these out. And let's run the suggested command to generate a valid secret. Something just to note with generated secrets for Next.js and a whole bunch of other auth platforms is that if you use special characters in them and you don't escape them properly, you run into a lot of issues with it. Especially with things like Azure and AWS might or they might not, depending on how they're feeling on that day, actually try and automatically escape those characters for you. So if you've added in an escape character, so I just quickly type on it. So let's go boom, 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 boom. And let's say that I also want to have a $sign in there and a bunch of other letters. So if this is your secret, and normally what you'd want to do, especially for local development, is add an escape character. So for most of us, most cases, it's just a /. So as far as the computer is concerned, the / doesn't exist, and it tells it, hey, the next character is exactly what it says it is. But some things like I mentioned, like AWS, Azure, occasionally certain situations, don't risk it, will view the / as a character in the password and then go, hey, we need to add an escape character for this. So then they will take it amongst themselves to add another one. And again, assuming that the / is the escape character, this is what your password will be. And it might even go as far as to say, hey, the $, we've got to escape that as well. So this is what it'll actually be trying to put in as your password. Just don't do it. Just stay safe out there, guys. Just run the command that it suggests. So in this case, I'm going to run that, and it's generated us a nice long, key that we can use for it. So I'm just going to whack that in there. And let's see what it says to do next in there. What you call it? All right, just give me a slight moment. If you see me jumping away, it's because I put the whole computer over there. Just run the stream as well, just to make sure that everything looks okay. And it's going to pop up. So I need to jump back over there right about now. Also grinding fishing on RuneScape, so it is what it is. So what have we done? Blah, 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 blah. So we've cloned the repository. We've successfully made our local environment file. A database is needed to persist user accounts, support sign-in. But you can use one with database using a JWT instead. So I probably will configure a database in this just because we are going to be publicly sharing this repo. So I'll probably set one up in Docker for this. But let's just take a quick look at this and see what their adapters are. So I am using Prisma in a personal project, and if anyone saw the stream yesterday, you would have seen me messing around with Prisma and MongoDB to set up the authentication using user management. But because Mongo isn't, I wouldn't recommend it. Like, it's working fine for me so far, but the whole NoSQL thing is just something I fuck around with personal projects. Don't use this for user management. I'm gonna have a quick skip over this just to see if there is a pre-provided Docker Compose file or something like that, or the default structure for it. But if not, actually, providers? No, definitely not. All right, so let's just kill this. And let's just do a quick search for a... Actually, I might just grab one from one of my other projects somewhere. Let's get into this. I mean, this one might have it. That doesn't even have a Docker file in there. Whatever. Let's go into this one because I know this will have some stuff in it. A whole bunch of stuff in it. So it's going to close out the environment file. So over on the right, this is just a file that I'm going to be copying from. Don't pay too much attention to it, because not too much of it will be relevant. Hang on, what the hell is going on here? There is already a Docker Composer file in here. All right. But let's add in. Oh, is this Postgres? God damn it! I wanted MariaDB. All right. Let's find something with MariaDB. All right. Let's kill that. I definitely will have some in. This one should be fun. DB. Cool. So let's just grab all of this and pray that there aren't any MariaDB specific configurations that I need to set up in there that will break everything. And let's also chuck in. Do I have a database? No, I don't have it. Sorry, a network setup. I do not. So I'm going to paste this in as well. That'll be fine, I guess. This might conflict, but we don't really need to worry about it too much. So the Docker Compose file over here, it's just like it's a Docker Compose file for a WordPress project that I was just sort of messing around with for a personal project. So if you're looking at it and seeing that I have default passwords in there, don't get too excited. They never made it off my computer. So just skimming down from the top, we can definitely use that one. That's fine. We don't need to mount that volume at all, but we will need to create the MariaDB volume. Let's change this to, oops. Let's change this one. Whoop, god damn. So let's change this to, actually, let's just call this example. This is going to be our example database. Our primary MariaDB user, so not the root user, the user that we're going to be accessing the database tables with. We probably could also call example, but let's just straight and call him user. As long as there isn't any complaints for it, it'll be fine. And the password, we are going to just give it tour as well. That's all fine. We don't need to supply a network because there isn't one in the existing Docker file. Logging, that doesn't really matter at all. Like I mentioned earlier, this may cause a conflict because I'm not too sure if I'm running anything else on port 8090 right now. So let's just, what is the port G? That's one. 8090. Well, 8090. Nothing, cool. So if you want to already run, I have a script in my bin folder that will run, I think it's netstat, and then it greps for whatever port numbers in there. It's just a really quick and easy way of working out like what the fuck is using this port, because there are a lot of issues with that as you try spinning up too many Docker containers. And just for the sake of proving a point, these are all of my Docker containers that I have running at the moment. Actually, can I run Docker PS? That might be a bit easier. Yeah. And a whole bunch of these are running behind a reverse proxy, so they don't actually expose any ports. But it's probably just better not to worry about it. DB, I mean, yeah, we can connect as a root with tour. Cool. So we can get rid of the key cloak credentials, all of key cloak credentials. I'm not too sure about this one though, because I'm pretty sure I just provided a secret. And that does not match. All right. Jumping back into the GitHub README, we're going to need to set up the, hang on, wait. The Google providers. So let's jump back into here. And we're going to go into the Google provider. And then we're just going to go straight in here and set up a new credential setup for it. I always have difficulty actually finding this goddamn URL, just because every time you Google it on Google, it always tries taking you to a support site or like its help documents. Cool. So I'm just going to create a new credential by going up here into OAuth client ID. I might be able to skip a couple of small steps just because I already have all of the APIs enabled and a callback URL approved. So we're going to call this one Next.js or actually NextAuth example. And we're going to allow, I'm going to check it doesn't need anything specific in there. Authorized redirect URL. Yeah, so it's going to need an authorized redirect URL, but I'm not too sure about the source. So I think I'll probably just hit him with a local host. No, must use HTTP. So let's go. That's not HTTP. Yeah, that should be fine. And whoop, there is probably a white space at start. Yep, cool, perfect. So this is going to be our client ID that we're just going to copy and paste straight into here. And the client secret for our author Google client, which we can also just copy and paste straight back into the environment file for the project. So at this point, that should all be set up as far as Google is concerned. So let's jump back over to this one. I will need to set up the database, but yeah, so review and update options in auth.ts. I'm not too sure where auth.ts is. Okay. It looks like in the example repo that they have that we've got here, they have everything sort of pre-configured for you for setting up additional management and connections. So let's just see if there's anything specific they tell us to change, because I don't want to have to actually jump through it. If you don't specify a database, JSON web token will be enabled. Skip it and come back later. All right. When setting up OAuth in the developer admin page for each of them, we've already set the callback URL for the Google provider. And then allegedly, it can just run. I didn't set up a database, but let's see what happens. So after adding in the credentials here for our OAuth provider and literally just running it, let's see what happens. Right, this is an example site to demonstrate how to use NextAuth.js. Check out the server and client examples. Let's see if these are local. They are local, so let's pop both of these open in a new tab. WebAuth N uses reset on every deploy. Don't expect your test users to be available after a few days. It is designed to only demonstrate registration, login, and logout briefly. So I'm assuming that this page is like all of the messages that they say there about them being wiped every now and then. That's probably only applicable for their hosted version of this, which they probably have running somewhere just to like test it out. All right. So this is the server component, and there's no session data because I'm not signed in. This is a client-side rendering. So this is the client component. Please press button to send a request to our backend. Only works when you use Keycloak provider. At some point, if there's enough interest, I might go through setting up Keycloak and integrating it with NextAuth. Keycloak itself is pretty good. It doesn't have a lot of finicky configuration options, but let's not worry about it for now. So just going to click the sign in button. We have an error. Let's check the server logs. That is a lot of errors. All right, so auth0 is missing the issue and authorization endpoint configuration. That was probably like from being on that page. I shouldn't be using auth0. I deleted the auth0 tokens, so it shouldn't be complaining. So let's just check out the auth.ts file again. I'm just going to do a search for auth0 and where it's applied. I don't know if it's actually trying to initialize all of these providers, because if it is, that is a problem, but let's just comment that out and hit a refresh. Server error. We probably should have been watching the logs while I did that. All right, so I'm going to jump down a lot. Okay, there. It looks like we're going to have to comment out every single provider that we're not using, which is very annoying. I have no clue what Boxy HQ SAML is. We are going to be using Google though. So let's comment all of those. And I'm just gonna skip that one back on. HubSpot, Keycloak, Microsoft, Okta. All right, so all of those have been commented out. And actually, let's jump back to this so we can see. And we'll just jump back there. And we'll return to the home page and give it a refresh. So far, there's no errors, which is great. And then I'm going to hit sign in. And it looks like it's working at this point. So it's provided us with the sign in with Google button. Clicking on this. Ooh. A redirect mismatch. So let's take a look at what the expected error is. Whoop. The redirect URI. That looks right to me. That looks like the credential that I said in there. So that is this one. Just in case this does happen for anyone else, you're able to just go back into your existing credentials. And then down here, what did I put in? Oh, there's additional API in the auth callback. And I'm pretty sure that I copy and pasted that literally off their, like I copy and pasted that from their documentation. But I'm not too sure what happened there. Just give me a quick moment. I'm just going to jump this into a BRB scene while I have a drink and check on RuneScape. Can you hear me now? I had my microphone physically muted after I jumped off. So that was, yep. Kimmy, are all the levels good at this point? Because I did need to mess around with them a bit before as well. But great to be able to hear me again. I didn't really have too much important to say, apart from saying that you can't easily grab the JWT out of the cookies. But just because I didn't record it, I will just quickly run through that again, just because it is something that I want to cut back into the video. So pop open the network panel, and I'll go into storage. I'm just going to grab what I'm hoping is JWT. And then we'll decode it to see if we can find anything of interest in there. So as I mentioned, or as I said, not that you guys could hear me, the best site for just easily decoding JWTs is jwt.io, and we can just paste it in here. As I mentioned, it isn't correct for this one, because you need to do a bunch of other bits and bobs to decode it all properly, pass it all together. Yeah, but apart from that, the sign-in's fully working at this point. I'm not too sure if I can log out from the demo repo that they've got, but if I refresh it, should, after refreshing this page, it will have automatically logged me in. Oh wait, there is a logout button, it's just invisible. Nice. Anyway, so at this point, I'm not gonna deal with any of this. Is first time on your stream. Well, welcome. More or less, it's a website. Specifically, if you don't know what Next.js is, it is a framework for spinning up websites really, really quickly. One of the issues with websites, every website, is at some point or another, you're going to need to let users log in. So there's a library called NextAuth that really facilitates that, makes it a lot easier. So you don't need to go through and write hundreds or thousands of lines of code to manage all of the sign-in process. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing. So just set up this website, which should be offline now. I don't know if I actually stopped it. Didn't stop it. Yep, stopped it. Yeah, so it's just showing you how to incorporate the sign-in into a website using Next.js. So something that I'm going to do now, I'll just see what scripts comes with it. And let's build it. Okay, setting up the login stuff, cool. Yeah, exactly. So it's just really a quick little video that's going to be showing people how to set up NextAuth into an existing, or maybe not existing, adding it to a Next.js project without having to worry about it or try and trawl their documentation. Not that their documentation isn't good, but there is a lot of it. So I just run a script in the project that's going to compile everything, build it into one project for easy deployment, easy deployment. Because the server that I was running would be really, really slow, because on each time anything is called, so each page change, every time there's an API call made, it'll need to then build the entire site again. I haven't done a lot of full stack, a little front end, a little back end here and there. Rarely both. Unfortunately, I've done way too much of both. Next.js is probably actually a good middle ground. If you haven't done any Next.js yet, I would recommend it as a sort of an introduction to backend, I guess. Just because it's super front end focused, but it has a really decent way of not needing a backend, in all honesty. If you ever use something like Supabase as a backend, Next.js itself, more or less at this point, has all of that functionality sort of baked in. Well, excluding databases and that kind of stuff, obviously. But anyway, so after building the project, instead of running yarn dev, where it will need to rebuild each file and every call, I should just be able to run start. And popping this open probably won't be too noticeable just for such a simple site. But everything is now fully built, fully compiled and optimized. So if I go sign in, fuck. What's going on here? Untrusted host URL was yeah, I'm not too sure about that error specifically because that's only popped up after it's been built. From the trusted host options not set to true. AuthJS requires it to be set to true since it's relying on the request host value. All right, so where will I need to set this? In the deployment. All right, so auth trust host. When deploying your application behind a reverse proxy, you'll need to set the auth trust. I mean, if I can just set this to true, it should just work out of the box. Do you have any recommendations for free website hosting? Say for a collection of websites and a portfolio, can't afford anything else. Oh, sorry, can't afford another monthly sub. That is very understandable. Yes, actually. Probably some of your best options would be Vercel. So Vercel have a really, really, really generous, free tier. So you can run, personally, the most I've got on one account is probably 5 or 6 front-end projects that are, or front-end projects, Next.js projects that I get to run for free. Vercel or Vercel with the C, Vercel. I'll show you one in a minute after I set this to true and pray after rebuilding. I had a couple of issues with Vercel last night because, as I mentioned, Next.js doesn't exactly have its own database or anything, but I was using Prisma to access a free MongoDB cluster. So there's a bit of a hassle trying to convince it to do that and want to do that because Vercel, their free tier, like I said, is very generous, but they definitely want you to pay to do that. But you can get around it, fortunately. All right, so let's just quickly check if this is all working. So let's jump back to our homepage. Whatever. Give it a refresh and sign in. Oh, looks good so far. And I'll try and sign in again with this Gmail account. Oh, that's sneaky. It is very sneaky. I think the sneakiest thing I've ever done with Vercel was fully compile a node backend into an executable JavaScript file so I could run the backend entirely from Vercel's front-end hosting. Cool, yeah. So that's all logged in. Everything's running. That is all good. So I'll quickly kill this one, and I'll just give you a quick demo of the Vercel project. Where is it? I think it's in here. This one. I'm not too sure exactly where I'd upload it to. So let's go. I don't remember the exact command that I needed to run to build it, just because this project is in a turbo repo. Usually Vercel's pretty decent. Sorry, no turbo repo. A turbo repo. Usually Vercel's pretty good with turbo repos, but there are a couple of issues with trying to get the Prisma connection in there. Oh shit, an executable on the front end. Potentially super dangerous. Yes, but shh. I mean, technically it wasn't an executable. I had it set up to run as a, like, more or less it was just embedded that would call itself and then started running. Vercel. Actually, it'll probably be better if I do this in the Google Chrome, just because I already have it set up in the So this is Vercel. It's super, super easy to get set up and like create an account with it. Probably the best way is, well, ideally, the best way is to link a GitHub project directly into it. So here's one that I've got. I have no clue what this is, in all honesty, but it'll directly link your GitHub repo to the deployment pipeline that it manages. So every time you push anything up to whichever the source branch is, it'll automatically deploy it out. Yeah, so that's super convenient most of the time. As you can see on this one, it wants me to connect a repo because I need to do some really silly stuff to get it running. But I have linked a proper domain to it and a whole bunch of other stuff in there for like caching and Cloudflare for that sort of shit as well. So it'll be a little bit faster than you'd normally expect. I was working on setting up subscriptions through it into Stripe because I am not a big fan of giving Bezos money. But yeah, so the best way, especially for a front-end focused website, is to just deploy it straight out to Vercel. It's got pretty decent speeds. Let's just run Lighthouse over it quickly. And I haven't linked a bank card to this, haven't linked a credit card at all for anything. I do have a couple of different Vercel accounts. This is the one that I'm using for streaming. And yeah, they're not going to charge me a dime. 10 out of 10, do recommend. I don't have a degree I don't have a degree in program or anything, but say level knowledge on web is probably minimal. Basic front end, and I've managed some databases, but never for websites, just for video game servers. I mean, so like what we'd call like a landing page for those video games and servers. So somewhere like, hey, come sign up, or hey, click here to buy, that sort of stuff. So thanks for the recommendation. Not a problem. Probably the best place to sort of like step up from like initially making like just pure HTML, JavaScript, CSS. Let's skip this song. Probably the best place would be using a framework like React or Next, because there's a lot of documentation out there for them. So like I just jump onto the Next.js, whatever, let's go Next.js. I'll drop this link in chat as well, because it's super convenient. Like they've got really, really good documentation for setting everything up, and it will introduce you to a lot of the fundamentals that you'll be able to transfer into other schools. No, the separate things. I did database work for video game servers and then made front-end side project. Oh, okay, I'm following. Yeah. Again, probably do recommend Next.js for sort of the opportunity to merge them both together a little bit. Are you familiar with things like Docker Compose, all that sort of containerization side of things? Just because it makes it a lot easier to run everything locally without needing to actually run a database server on your machine. Oh shit, actually, I just noticed the time. I need to skedaddle. Wait, can you repeat that? Oh, okay. So I'll just jump back into this project. So are you familiar at all with containerization, and specifically Docker? Very strong advocate for it, but it allows you to run containerized versions of any services. So when I say service, I more or less mean an app. So the file that I've got here is a Docker Compose file, which is just orchestration for containers, which is a really fancy way of saying, hey, I want a database, and I also want something that will show me what's in that database, and I want them both to run sandboxed without needing to worry about updates and all that kind of stuff. So that will allow you to run a database locally without needing to worry about all the stuff that I just mentioned. I'll drop a link as well. That's not how you spell compose. I'll drop a link for this as well into chat. The auth.js repo that I did grab also did have at least the top part, and I had this in it. That's really fucking cool. It is really fucking cool. And it's super, super convenient, especially when you run a lot of things simultaneously. I don't know if you've needed to worry about like port forwarding at all, or port forwarding for services on your machine locally at all, but you start to run into conflicts very, very quickly. So I'm just going to go back to my home and I'm going to on docker ps. Never, yeah. When you start running like lots of things on your machine, it'll happen. So these are the ones that I have currently running. And if you can see over here, all of the ports that are being forwarded, it gets really messy really quickly. But a great service that I'll probably do a couple of videos on and like a stream, how to set it up, all that sort of stuff, is called Traffic. Local. That's not what I wanted. And I think it's 8080. Yep, that's fine. Hopefully, I hope it didn't turn the dashboard off. I might have turned the dashboard off. Oh, yeah, no, it looks like it's running. Cool. So Traffic is a really, really great reverse proxy for anything, I guess. But it really comes into its own when you start using containerized services. Let's jump into services. So these are the 14 individual things that I have running on my machine, just like all the time, pretty much. And so there aren't a shit ton of conflicts with ports. So like most websites want to be accessed on port 80 or 443. Because of that, if you try running two of them, they'll conflict and you have a horrible time. A reverse proxy allows you to set things up as a host, and it will match that host with the container that you've assigned it to. So for example, I'll grab this one because I don't think there's anything in it that'll show up that is confidential. And then just go straight to that URL. I'll explain this in a moment. Another moment. God damn it. All right. Oop, not that one. We want this one. So if you can see up here, instead of needing to type in this horrible, I don't know if you guys can see that properly. The service link. I'm not on the service. What am I doing? Mail. There it is. So instead of needing to type in this IP address to access it, you can just directly go into the domain for it. And just to round back to why I was getting the SSL errors, that'll be super common for most cases, but I'm running a personal certificate authority, which is, where is it? I can't find it. It's somewhere in this list, but that will automatically generate certificates for every host that appears here. The issue with Traffic is, and one of its only downsides, is that it won't automatically invalidate certificates, and when they invalidate it, it won't then renew it. So I've got a file that Traffic references that I just need to delete to tell it to update all the certificates. Is due to security protocols, specific port conflicts. It's kind of expect person to start with familiar certs. Yeah. I'll quickly just jump over. Actually, I probably shouldn't because I do have some personal stuff in there, but I could probably delete it actually. So scratch step. So in here, the acme.json file. So these are all of the certificates that have been generated by the step CA, which is the container that I'm running for certificate management. If I just delete this and then save it and down the entire stack, just to explain what's going on here, I have a alias set up. So DCD is actually Docker Compose down, and DCU is Docker Compose up D. So I'm going to run that again. Apparently I need to update one of the containers. But after that updates, it will start each of these containers simultaneously, and it will error for SSL initially, but after maybe a minute or two, it will have generated an updated certificate. So you could probably see the steps here. Yeah, there we go. So all of these messages that are popping up is it generating certificates, which can take a fair while because I've got a shit ton of things running. And there we go. Yeah, so now I've got a valid certificate. The reason the certificate's valid is because I have added the certificate, the root signing certificate to my certificate store. Are you on Linux? Yes, I am running. Yeah, all that code looks nasty. Yeah, it is. Logs are horrible. I am running. I don't think it's Arctic. Fuck me. Arco. Sorry, I'm running Arco Linux with my desktop environment is also awesome WM with a metric fuck ton of customization and custom code in it. But yeah, I strongly recommend actually. So Windows has Windows subsystem for Linux now, which is horrible for performance and a bunch of other shit, but it allows you to program with pretty much one-to-one parity. Anyway, I really need to jump off because I saw the time. Thank you for everyone coming out. Remember to like and subscribe, and see you all next time, which I'm not